We're going to walk through how to create a visual essay using Google Slides and Kami. This is a great way to get students to brainstorm and find their evidence, and then they can create their writing in a Google Doc after they kind of do this first visual essay, or you could maybe even use this as the assignment. So the first thing is right here, I kind of laid out the slides or each part of the writing for that essay that I want students to include in their writing. Also, I included the central question. Now, every student might be reading a different book or they might be reading the same book. So depending on that, you might include that question or you might not. I am going to because every single student is reading the same book. Another thing you could do is you could add your images right on here and then your students could annotate on them. However, I want my students to find their own evidence and their own pictures from the book to add on here. And so I am going to just allow them to do that. So now that we have these slides ready to go, I'm going to click Kami. Now I'm going to kind of walk through what I would do first before shipping this out to students, and then I'm going to kind of act like a student as well. So the first thing is I might add some comments here of what I expect my students to kind of do. So the first thing that I might want them to do is I might want them to restate. Let's go ahead and delete this one. There we go. So I'm going to add a comment and I want them to first restate the question. So in the introduction, I want them to, again, that's their first prompt is restating. And then I also want the topic sentence. Now you could kind of have your students maybe do this without these prompts, but some students might need them. Okay, so now that I've got those two things, then I could hit the share document and I could share this link with my students and I could create an individual copy for each of them. I could change some of the control features if I wanted to. So I have a lot of different options that I'm able to do with this activity. Okay, so now that you've kind of seen what I've done for the teacher, we're now going to walk through what it might look like for the student. So the first thing, because it is a visual one, what students are going to do is they're going to kind of do like a book snap where they take a picture of their book. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to Add Media and I'm going to click the camera. And what students are going to do is they're going to hold up their book and they're going to take a picture of their book. And then from there, they're gonna place it on their area. And now they can add additional media from Google if they wanted to help kind of represent what this story was all about. They could search also their Google Drive. I'm gonna search clip art. Okay, so now I've got these two images that are kind of like what the story, is all about. I could also maybe add some bricks. And then I can organize these on the Kami to make them just kind of easy for my students to, or my other peers to see. Okay, so there we go. So now another thing that I could do as their teacher is I could go ahead and add some sentence starters if my students might need that. So I could just kind of do that right underneath here. And again, that might just be if my students might need that additional help. Sometimes they might not need that. You could also add it on the slide deck before you send it out to your students too. So now what my students are going to do is they're going to first restate that question. So right here it says, does taking your time to do something right pay off? And what my students are going to do is this one is just going to add a text box. And they are going to add their answer right there. And then again, they can change the font if they want to. They could change the color of the text. And they have some options there. Okay. So they went ahead and took that question and restated it, and they are saying that taking your time does pay off. Next thing is that topic sentence. So right here, they've got a couple, again, options of what they could use, or they could use a different sentence starter. What I'm going to do is, instead of using a text comment, my students can use video comments or voice comments as well. I'm going to go ahead and leave a voice comment for this round. And we're going to put it right here. Thankfully, the third little pig is very smart and built his house out of bricks. Even though the wolf huffs and puffs, he is unable to blow the house down. Okay, so again, I've got my restating of the question up here, and I've got my audio for that topic sentence right here. So my students kind of have that introduction ready to go, and if they were to actually write out their paragraph on a Google Doc, they can use this to kind of help them write that out. So now we're going to go to the body paragraph. Now, if I'm, again, that teacher, I could leave them comments or reminders of what they should include in this paragraph. So right here for their body paragraph, I want them to introduce the evidence. And again, I could include sentence starters if I needed to. I'm going to have them find evidence 1. This could be paraphrasing. It could also be a quote. And then I want them to find their elaboration or their justification. So again, this is supporting their evidence. Okay, so now that I've got those 3 things, what my students are going to then do is they are going to go to Add Media. They're going to use their camera again, and they're going to take a picture of their evidence. So I'm going to go to first page 11 and 12, and they're going to hold it up. I'm going to go back into Add Media because it's 2 pages. And there we go. Okay, so now that I've got both of those images, I'm just going to kind of reorganize them on here. I'm going to go ahead and cut that one just a little bit and cut this one. And the way that I might introduce the evidence is I'm going to say the author writes. So I'm just going to put a text box right here to remind me that is like the sentence starter that I'm going to use for this. And then my students can go in here, they can add media. And I could add an image, I could add a graphic organizer, but my students might want to add an additional photo for their evidence. So my evidence is coming from a different place in the book, and it's coming from page 4. And so I'm going to take a picture of this as well. Okay. So now that I've gotten all of these different pieces, I'm now ready to kind of highlight. So I'm going to go to markups, and I'm first going to take this right here, and I'm just going to put quotes around it. So the author writes, and then so the big bad wolf huffed and puffed, and the tiny straw house came tumbling down. And then I'm going to remember that that was like a quote that was used. Now here I'm going to take a different color, and I am going to grab my example for my justification or my elaboration. And I want to talk about how he was lazy, it says, and that he used the straw nearby, and it also used the word quickly. And so now when I go to comment, I'm going to leave a video comment about this. And I just want to put it close to there as well. An example of this is included on page number 4. It states that there was a lazy pig and that this pig found some straw nearby. And it also states that it was quickly built. Because he built the house so quickly and with straw, his house was able to come down. So then I was able to add that video to capture this piece of the highlight. And I'm going to change this color to green so I can remember that that goes with that. And then students could also kind of go here and say, oh yeah, that was part of the green as well if they wanted to combine that. So then I would say the author writes, I'm saying, the big bad wolf huffed and puffed. And then I would talk about that justification all in that writing. Students would continue this process for the remainder of the book. And again, they could add media, they can add different comments, they could add text comments, they could add voice, they could add a video comment, they could even go to a screen capture if they wanted to. They can mark up so they can highlight all of their evidence from their screenshots. But again, it's just going to continue. And then once the students are done, I could have them put it all together to create that response to literature, or I could use this as kind of their assignment. So it's kind of up to you. So feel free to adapt and use with your own students. But I just love this activity because, again, it's visual. It gets students to create using audio, video, or text-based. And it's just really fun. And then the students can share their creations with the class.